I'm joined today with a special interview with Derek Fromm. He's one of the people involved with the new group, Free Alberta Strategy, which came out with a press conference the other day that is really coming up with a different and certainly much more, I guess you could say, aggressive approach to standing up for provincial rights. So good to see you today, Derek. You've always got your hands into a whole pile of things. I'm happy to see you working on this one.
Well, thanks for having me. This is a great opportunity to talk about something very, very important.
So I'll start with, there's a number of groups that have a regional focus, or they're focused on the Equalization Referendum or Confederation in general. What distinguishes the group that you guys have just launched from those?
So I think what first attracted me to this concept that we developed in this paper was that we've only ever discussed Canada in two contexts. We've discussed Alberta within Canada and Alberta outside of Canada. And those were very clearly defined as secession or effectively status quo or some minor tweaks. Like, let's just give some minor tweaks to equalization and everything will be good. But what this strategy does is it gets rid of that, what I think is a false dichotomy. There's not just two options available to us. We found a third way. And that third way is to find an Alberta with greater autonomy and greater independence within Canada. And that, to us, is much more palatable to Albertans. And it's also potentially an avenue where we'll have more success dealing with Ottawa and the constant infringement of political rights and Albertans' interests. So this is a unique strategy. It is a different way. And it's, to be clear, it's not secession. It is creating a lot more sovereignty and independence, a freer Alberta within Canada. And that's very important.
Yeah, well, and some of the concepts and things you're promoting are very familiar to us. They said we've been talking about them for a long time, whether it was part of the Alberta agenda or other parties promoting it, though never getting around to it. Things like a provincial pension plan and provincial police force and things that other provinces are doing already. What's interesting, though, is in the fiscal end, you guys are going more into talking about Alberta collecting the money and possibly, I guess, intercepting money before it gets to Ottawa. Like, how could this work necessarily?
Well, that's kind of the clever, what I think is very clever about this. And I'd have to say that that's not really my area, but what I understand from what we need to do is bring about legislation in the province so that it's not the individual Albertans who are being civilly disobedient. It's this legislation allows the province itself to be civilly disobedient, to withhold money that would otherwise go to Ottawa and retain it within the province. And that increases our autonomy and allows us to stay within Canada. And, it will create a constitutional crisis. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This will not be viewed favorably by Ottawa. But quite frankly, it's been generations. Alberta has been attacked by Ottawa. I mean, it's a constant litany of attacks. They want to undermine our number one business. They want to get rid of it. We're bad. They're attacking us. They've been pillaging our wealth for generations. They've been extracting money from us and our children and our futures. And then the other side of it is, in our opinion, they've violated the Constitution again and again. And they've eroded provincial rights to the point where, the most recent carbon tax decision from the Supreme Court, even though that decision upheld the constitutionality of the federal carbon tax, it is a great infringement of provincial rights. And in our opinion, as authors, the only way to really get things back to the way they should have is to do something serious and for our provincial government to start enacting the very clear plan, not going to be easy, but the very clear plan that we've developed, demonstrating that Alberta can be sovereign, more independent within Canada. And part of that is holding the purse strings, yes.
Yeah, well, and some of the approach you've taken is that we're not asking, you're not negotiating. You're saying is let's just make these changes and almost, I guess, an attitude towards Ottawa of saying, well, what you going to do about it? And we do know, as you said, there's going to be a constitutional crisis. Ottawa is going to do something about it. How could we win with what is a stacked court in Canada?
Well, part of what we've planned here is to bring in what we've called the Alberta Sovereignty Act, where we won't recognize decisions that, in the opinion of the legislature of Alberta, too greatly entrench upon provincial rights. So, I mean, the perfect example is the carbon tax decision. It's a federal tax that was upheld by the highest federal court. And we would bring in legislation making it clear that, yeah, you can have that law and the court can declare that, but in Alberta, it will not be enforced. It will not be enforced against Alberta companies or individuals. And that makes it very complicated. Admittedly, it is a complicated situation, but the plan outlines how other legislation can be brought in to shield Albertans from the consequences of that. And really, in the end, in their press conference yesterday, Professor Barry Cooper, who's one of the co-authors of this paper, when he was asked a question like, what's going to happen here? And his answer was, the answer is political. The answer is political. There needs to be a groundswell of people who understand and agree and sign on to this greater independence for Alberta, greater autonomy for Alberta. And once the groundswell is there, all of a sudden the political will follow. Now, we've laid out what we think is a plausible plan for a legislature to follow. Can things change? Absolutely. But at this point, Ottawa better start taking Alberta seriously. It takes Quebec seriously. Quebec gets to do what it wants, it seems like, in Confederation, doesn't it? They can block pipelines, they can do this or that, where the Constitution is clear. You can't do those sorts of things as a province. Alberta doesn't have that same sort of privilege, but we've never asked for it. We maybe what we need to do is grasp it and take it and make that our policy goal.
Yeah, well, and I've long said, rather than getting upset with Quebec, we should learn and emulate these guys. I mean, they make no bones about it. They're there for Quebec first and foremost, and you know what? It works. Why can't we take the same attitude?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a very important goal, and I think it's one that's going to serve Alberta. So, I was told a while ago that 4 generations of Albertans have kicked at the goads of Confederation. We've gotten a bad deal. But you know what? Nothing's really changed. Like we've talked, but nothing changes. Let's change it. This is a very concrete plan to bring about change.
So, have you heard any response from anybody in the provincial government to your conference so far? As you said, we got to, if we build the groundswell, the political actors will follow. But I mean, some are perhaps already close to being on board or leaning that way. Have you seen much feedback yet since you began this initiative?
So in our press conference yesterday, when we released the report, we were joined by 4 MLAs. Angela Pitt, who is the MLA for Airdrie, Stefan, who's an MLA out of Red Deer, and MLA Lowen, and also MLA Drew Barnes. So there are already 2 of them are current UCP members of caucus, and the other 2, I guess they've been kicked out. And we were very clear, like there's support within the UCP and support outside of the UCP for this. And quite frankly, this is not a UCP or Kenny or anything bashing agenda. It is just not that. Any politician could sign on to this. We would love if the NDP MLAs that are sitting right now in the legislature would sign on. There's no reason they couldn't, because what we need is greater autonomy back to that same thing, greater autonomy for Alberta within Confederation. And all Albertans will be served best, even the NDP, because suddenly, if we enact this sort of agenda and all of our equalization payments that are being extracted from us as we're being pillaged can be used on services here within this province. You want the best healthcare in the world? Well, here's a route that we can do so that we can afford healthcare. Do you want better education? Well, let's keep some of our own money within this province to pay for our own education. Currently, the game is rigged. The game is rigged so that we pay money to other provinces not to develop their resources. This is not what Confederation was originally about. It's not what it should be about now. We need to get our partners in Confederation to take us seriously. We are need to be free within Canada. We need greater autonomy.
Yeah, well, and to be able to keep those resources home, and we've got to let people know about that. You hear it all the time. Say, why can't we be more like Norway? Well, Norway doesn't have a Quebec to pay for. I mean,
Yeah.
if we'd have kept those resources and funds over the last 30, 40 years that have been taken away in equalization, now that's a big assumption that we managed it responsibly. We could have a giant fund just like Norway as well.
That's right. And, that would be the goal. That would be the goal, that we would be able to use our own resources and the fruits of our own labor within this province to benefit our province. And so you can see from that, it's not an agenda or not a strategy that fits better within any particular political party. Any party that is representing Albertans, this should be attractive to them.
It should. I mean, they're concepts rather than a party thing. So that's good to see, because our partisan sphere right now is something of a hornet's nest anyways. So it'd be nice to bring focus back to these issues that have been kind of lost lately. We do have an equalization referendum coming up. I mean, it's more almost a poll on Albertans, and it unfortunately might be politicized to a point where it might not be an accurate reflection of where we are sitting on equalization. Are you guys speaking to that referendum at all?
Well, I don't know that we want to speak directly to that referendum. I'm not aware of any plans that we have to do that, but we are planning on doing town halls. And I'm sure that the topic will be raised. And my vote, I think, when it comes to that referendum, will be cast obviously in one direction. And I am worried that it's going to be politicized. As you say, it'll be maybe co-opted and used as a referendum on our provincial leadership. And that would be too bad, I think, and it wouldn't be an accurate reflection of what Albertans truly think. And look, I mean, the problem we're running up against here is, after the previous federal election, everyone in Alberta was very motivated by these sorts of issues. When Trudeau was elected for the second time, I mean, there was a good week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe a month even. Cessation was the topic on everyone's minds, right? This time it's a little bit different, because we're dealing with a pandemic and the issues are very serious that we're dealing with now. And we don't want this to get lost in the shuffle. And we would like to think that this issue is important and it transcends that sort of political play that's going on related to the pandemic, or any sort of political play related to the referendum coming up in the fall. These issues are intergenerational issues that need to be dealt with. And this is the first time that I can think of, I might be wrong about this, the first time in my memory and to my knowledge where a plan this concrete has been developed, where a step-by-step process has been provided to a provincial government to carve out more autonomy for itself within the province. In this way, it's similar to the firewall letter that Stephen Harper was a signatory on, but that was still just more of a dream. Like, if we do this and this and this, things might be better. Here, if you go to our website, freealbertastrategy.com, you can download the paper, you can sign a petition, and you can see for yourself. The plan is very concrete. Now, again, it may change and it may have to be adapted, but this is what it may take to have Ottawa finally take us seriously after 4 generations of ignoring us.
Well, there's certainly issues that are very near and dear to my personal heart on this. So freealbertastrategy.com is where you'll be able to see where the upcoming town hall meetings are, and where people, as you said, they can petition and find more information on what's happening.
Well, as we figure that out, you can understand there's some logistical problems related to the health restrictions currently in place, but we're working on that and getting the ball rolling on the town halls. And you can sign up on the website. You'll get emails from us. You'll be made aware of any upcoming events and developments as they happen.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops. And thanks for joining me today, Derek. We'll check in and see how it's been going in a little while.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity.